perfect. So again, my name is Shahid. Been with Linoop for since 2018. Been working together, trying to improve, trying to learn, and of course, help all the community members, whoever would like to take advantage of the knowledge that we have throughout the years. We have servers to show you, but just to let you know that these servers are still in play. That means they are not going away. These servers are the one that basically makes the technology work. As Asabai has already mentioned many times, that these servers are the one at the backbone in the data centers. Now, the word data centers usually refer in a short form of DC. So as a system admin or a lingo, we always call it a DC. So where you're headed, DC. It's not a Washington, DC, but it's a data center. Just to make it short, everybody calls it DC. So where you're heading, where you're going, so it's all going to be DC from now on, okay? So all the backbone of our technology, no matter where it's cloud, whether it's on-prem, you have to have these servers. And these servers are managed by NOC, that is Network Operations Center. And there are other team names, but let's not go too much into depth about how and where these data centers are, because only high-level people of these companies require where these servers are located. Some of them are in a co-location, and some of them are dedicated data centers, DCs, okay? You should write these terms down. Inshallah, you will be going down the road of the system admin. And as a system admin, it's your day-to-day to know these servers, their make and models, and the components they run. So far, what we have learned, ladies and gentlemen, from Asabai, from Asad sir, Coach Asad, that these components, then by name, we have a processor or a CPU, we have RAM, memory, we have hard disk, we have other components as well, but the high level, or I would say one of the some of these most common and most important components are these 4 or 5. As you have learned from Coach Asad that these are CPU, RAM. Are you able to hear me or not? So I can connect a Bluetooth, or I can connect to somebody says if all right, I just need your feedback. I'm looking at your, okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for your feedback. So ladies and gentlemen, just so far what we have learned was theoretical part. That means the name of these components, this processor, the RAM, the motherboard, the hard disk. Today, we will show and tell, meaning we'll just show you the components, and you can identify by looking at them. In our previous years, we had the opportunity to show them hands-on. We had a center in Brooklyn, and we would invite anyone who's willing to come and touch these and, matter of fact, take them apart. But we will have that session, inshallah, soon with our paid program, whoever wishes to join in our East Brunswick location. And we will be building our DC here, so you can have a first-hand knowledge. Just so you know that this show and tell, and of course, handling of these components it's not complicated, but it's not given at any school or college or university, because these servers, whether they are used or whether they are new, they cost a lot of money. And by touching them, you might damage some of these components if you are not careful enough. So that's why they are not basically available for students to have hands-on. But here at Linoop, we don't care. We want you to come. We want you to handle them, take them apart, and put them back together if you are willing to. Otherwise, it's all going to be on Zoom if you're comfortable doing that. But this will add a lot of value to this course, to your career, because once you are on job, inshallah, soon, you will see that going up the steps of technology, everybody starts at the hardware level, or the bottom level, junior admin, and they move up. At the junior level, that's what they do to handle some of these components, or at least guide a field engineer to which parts to be replaced. So as I was working as a field engineer for Dell, HP, these are the two vendors. I just mentioned two vendors, and I'm sure you're very familiar with these vendors. We call them vendors. With these companies, large companies called Dell and HP, Hewlett Packard. These are basically the major player when it comes to server hardware. There are others, Sun Micro, there are IBM, Lenovo Systems, and some other server, they make these servers too. But if you walk into a data center, you will see either Dell or HP or Cisco. Some companies do employ some other system, but these are the major players. So, ladies and gentlemen, you will see that these servers have the components as same like your Dell, computer, either laptop or Dell. Desktop. These desktops and your servers, the components names are the same, meaning the laptop that you're using for this session is same. You have a CPU, you have a hard disk, you do have a motherboard and a RAM, and other similar components, power supplies, and so on. But the server do have, let me increase my volume. I did get a message to increase the volume. Let me see if I can. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see if this helps. Microphone. Is it up better now? Ladies and gentlemen, is it up? I don't want you to feel that it's too. All right. So people are giving me feedback saying that the volume is so far good for you guys. Okay. So before we jump into the system, so just a brief introduction to the system, that the system will always be in play, whether it's cloud, whether it's on-prem. On-prem, you learned earlier, meaning on premises. If the company that you work for is they have the servers in-house, or they have their own data centers, DC, somewhere in the location, you will see that these servers are going to be in play. They will be connected, and we call them rack and stack. And I'll show you how their rack and stack works. We do have some racks available, but not today, but we do have some racks available. And during the paid session, you will be able to rack and stack, because that is one of the terms that is very common with system admins, that rack and stack. Because when the servers are built, the first step actually is rack and stack, meaning they will be placed in a rack and connected, rack and stack. So mark this term down, rack and stack. You will see that very common in system admins day-to-day lingo, okay? Now, anytime the system that is running optimally breaks down, that's where the system admin comes in, and the server tells the system admins through logs what component has failed. The system admins opens up a ticket or a request with vendor, whether it be HP or Dell, and the vendor sends an FE to repair that server, and the system admin works with those FE hand to hand. At that time, they should be on call to get the system up and running, okay? These data centers or DCs are very cold and very loud at all times. There is no off time, there is no downtime for these systems. They are supposed to be running 24/7 without any interruption. That's why most of these components that we'll show you today are redundant, meaning the servers are not supposed to be shut down, even if they are being worked on. Some of these components, you will see that they should not be, they can be removed without turning the system down. I have been to, alhamdulillah, thank God, I have been to a lot of major data centers, DCs, on the East Coast of the United States. And for one, DCs are highly secure. Nobody can even get near DC without being an authorized person. Secondly, they are super cold. They have a regulated temperature. And third, the source of power supply. The source of power supply is very critical for these servers. They have two power sources. One is the grid, and they do not depend on the grid. And secondly, they have something called backup, or the UPS, which is constantly there. And some of the DCs, what I have seen, they do not depend on this grid, that is Con Ed or our utility at all. They build or they make their own electricity. All right, so let's move on. And do you guys have any questions so far? Because we will jump right into it, and we'll try to get rid of this hardware and some networking components I'm going to show you, because remember, today is all show and tell for us today. Okay, so I'm going to show you first a working server, because we do have a bunch of servers that are working now, and we will first disconnect the components. Once we disconnect the components and put them back together, and it will be very quick. Remember, it will be very quick, and this is a very interactive hands-on session. Of course, for me, hands-on, but for you, we would like you to make sure that you understand and see these components, because once you see them, you will have something to relate to. For example, now Asubai mentioned CPU. You should be able to see what CPU looks like. He mentions RAM. You should be able to identify a RAM physically, hard disk, motherboard, power supplies, and so many components that you will see. Okay, to me, and like I said, I have been to very highly sensitive data centers, DCs, and I mean army bases as well. Okay, but here's a question to everyone: where and what DC, what data centers in your mind do you guys think is the highest secure location? What company or what authority would have? I see Amazon, FBI, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, banks, Microsoft, IRS, CIA, Army, government, Navy, NASA. I did not get my answer. This is the data center when, before even getting to the site, there's at the gate I'm stopped. My car is checked from bottom to my trunk to my under seats. They bring a bomb sniffing dog out, and they check everything. No Pentagon, no Army. You guys are way ahead of yourself. But I did not get my answer.
I would check your car even if you go for this Dunkin' coffee.
Well, sense of humor, so I love him. We all love him. So, well, you need the answer or no? Do you need the answer? I'm looking for an answer. Let's keep it a mystery, Yasabai.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Let them figure it out.
Well, the question is, what data center do you guys think is the most secure, where they have people checking everything that you have, even the tools that I would carry in, if the car by driving? So what do you think? Well, meanwhile, you ponder on that. Let me show you. Let me turn my camera on the. I mean, switch my camera view, and I'm going to show you that this servers. These are the servers.
I'll hold it for you.
Perfect.
So check out, this is Power Edge R620 servers stacked on top of each other. 1, 2, 3. These are rack mountable servers. Go ahead.
Perfect. Yes. So I'm going to show my audience here that this server, that is the bottom server, is connected, and it's showing some kind of operating system. If I can show them the top one, that means these servers are up and running, and they do have an operating system. The operating system is showing as VMware ESXi 6.7.0, and this is the kernel version. The hardware is Dell PowerEdge R620, which Asabai just identified us. Then we have so if you can point to here, this server has two Intel Xeon CPUs. Now you know what a CPU is. I'm going to show you. And the processor has some numbers and a speed. We'll get into that later. This server also has 32 gigabyte. You remember the gigabyte that we were speaking about? We spoke about earlier the RAM, and your laptop does have 8, 16, depending on. Then look at the operating system. This is the operating system, which is VMware ESXi. To manage this host, go to this certain IP, which is static. Okay, so this server is up and running. We have another server which is up and running, and all these servers are actually up and running, meaning they are not piece of junk. They have the operating system. They do have components connected to it, and they're working perfectly fine. As you can see, same make and model, same operating system with two Intel CPUs, and this one has 40 gigabyte, and same configuration to manage this. So this is just to show that these servers are up and running, and once we take them out, disconnect all the components, you will see that we should be able to put them back, and they should be up and running as well. So let's jump right into it. You showed the front of the server, right? I'm going to just identify some of the front components of the server. We have a power button. Of course, without this power button, the server will not power on. We have some USB ports right here. Let me know if I'm going too fast. Let Asabai know, because Asabai is the one who's holding the camera, and he can answer some of these questions. We have something called hard drives. I'm going to show you. I'm not going to pull it because the server is on. I can pull it. It's not going to damage anything, but right now I'm going to show you
It's
just
a little too fast.
too fast. Okay.
Yeah. At least one person said that.
Okay, no problem. So once we look at these servers, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that these servers are about inch and a half thick, inch and a quarter, I would say, inch and a quarter thick. And these sizes tells us how many servers we can stack on top of each other in a rack. So that's why the rack and stacks comes in. These servers have the components as same as your laptop or desktop. This model is made by Dell. We do have HP models, but the components are exactly the same, so no worries. There are certain ports, then there are certain bays. We call them bays. This is our blank, and this hard drive, if I pull it, it's not going to damage anything, because remember what Asabai mentioned, that our operating system is running in our RAM, in memory. So even if I pull this out, which is our hard disk, just point to it. This is a Dell hard disk with 300 GB space, 300 gigabyte.
This is the SSD, or this is set?
This is actually a conventional. This is the SAS, SAS connected. Mm-hmm. The ports are actually named by SATA or SSD. This is not an SSD. This has an actuator motor, meaning it's constantly running. Mm-hmm. Server do have SSDs.
So the SSDs are the fastest ones?
Servers, yes, they are the fastest.
Okay.
But they are not most reliable so far for servers yet.
Okay.
Because they are supposed to be running constantly, and the SSD has not come up to that speed.
Okay.
Yes. So
can I interrupt you for 1 second? The panelists, folks, if you come across any interesting question, the panelists, please, you can unmute yourself and ask that question to Sir Shahid. And so this way I don't have to pay attention to all the chat over here. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So one thing that you must notice, that these servers have something printed on top, which is called Quick Resource Locator. That means even if you walk into a data center, you do not have a cell phone signal, or you do not have a manual meaning a book, you can always refer to these diagrams that are printed on the server, and they will be on every server. This is on the top of the servers, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm going to open this, And I'm going to show you the inside by how did I open it? Very simple. So there's this lever that I'm going to lift. There's also a lock on here, so people cannot get access to it. But once I'm going to lift the lever and lift the cover, once I lift the cover, it has to be straight up. And as you can see on the back of this cover, there's an entire manual. Ladies and gentlemen, notice something with the sound. Do you notice something with the sound of the server? What's going on? The server is going crazy, meaning the fans are increasing in speed and the noise is increasing as well. That is because these servers are very smart when it comes to temperature. They sense that the power is removed and now they are working an extra shift so to cool its component down. I just opened up the server's case or the lid. Now I'm going to show you what's the back of this server. There's quick resource locator. You can identify all of these components by just looking at this diagram right here. This is the back of the cover of the server, the lid of the server. This diagram actually shows how to configure some of these components. As you can see, there's a locator and then memory information or memory configuration. You would have to place these memory sticks according to this configuration. But like Asabai said, we want to keep it very high level. Only and only things that we are going to learn are show and tell. Once you are signed up for DevOps course, we'll dive into much deeper into these components because knowledge is power. You guys have to know, folks, that anytime a server breaks down, you are the one who will be contacted. Right now, the server is up. The server is up. Ladies and gentlemen, just notice two colors on this server, please. Notice two colors. One is orange, you can see that, and one is blue. One is a blue color right here. Blue color. You guys see this blue color? I'm not talking about the components. I'm talking about just the color that's mentioned, or they have differentiated between these two colors. One is blue, one is orange. They do have a significance. The significance is that I can remove this without powering the server down. Look at this. I can remove a power supply but without powering the server down, and I can reconnect it. You can see that? Fan. And the fan went up. You see that, ladies and gentlemen, the fan speed actually went up. That is to cool the system down. Is this the fan? That's the fan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fan. We have, depending on this model, these fans numbers vary. Some of them have 8, some of them have 10. But this is this, I would say, the smaller model. We do have bigger models. We can show you that as well. But right now, one more thing, Asaba, if you can point it here in the back. On the back of the server, we have a power supply connected. We have some network ports, NIC ports.
So this is the guy I keep talking about.
Oh,
you have a network card.
Network card.
And the configuration for the network card is this.
That's where we get our IP addresses from, yes.
Yes.
We have a VGA, that is video port, to connect our monitor. We have a serial port not being used anymore. And we have something called maintenance port, or in case of Dell, iDRAC port, maintenance. We'll come to that later, okay? Right now, just pay attention to these components. Now, you guys see that these components, we have 2 of them. So if I disconnect one and the other one is connected, it will go into redundant mode, meaning it can connect 2 power supplies, but the power is redundant, meaning if I take this power supply out when it's connected, the server will be running. Let me show you how. So I got this power supply connected. Look at the monitor that's connected to the bottom one. So this server is running. Ladies and gentlemen, notice that this server is running. There are two power supplies. Redundant meaning if I take this one power supply out or this one power supply dies, the server should still be up and running. Look at this. If I connect this back, I'm going to disconnect this. You see that? That is for redundancy, meaning to keep our server up and running in the case of a fault or a hardware failure. So two power supplies for redundancy. These large heat sinks, these are large heat sinks. I'm going to open them and show you the processes underneath them. These slots, or you can call them sticks. Well, this is a blank. This is a blank. I cannot remove the RAM or the memory without shutting down my system. Otherwise, I'm going to damage either the RAM or the motherboard because that is a critical component. There are few critical components that are required for the system to run. That is our processor, CPU, the RAM, the power supply. Everything else can be removed and the system will still be running. Now, one more time. What are the three components? Well, of course, the motherboard has to be there, right? There's a motherboard, which is right here. There's a motherboard which connects everything together.
Which one is the motherboard once
Right
again?
here, the big green board.
The whole green board is the motherboard?
Motherboard or system
Oh,
board, yeah.
okay. So the hard drives are over here. These are hard drives?
Yes.
These are hard drives.
These are hard drive.
So this is where the operating system gets installed?
That's where the operating system gets installed. As soon as you, as a user, hit save, the save part, it goes to the hard drive.
Okay, so when I run the lsblk command, these are the storage
These are
devices?
storage devices.
So storage basically means a hard drive.
Hard drive, yes.
Okay.
So
And then you said this component is
a fan.
a fan, okay?
Fan.
What is the purpose of having a fan in a server?
The fans are the one that's keeping the server cool at optimal temperature. If the temperature goes up, and I have seen that in the past week, a lot of servers shut down to protect the components because otherwise they will melt. The inside of the server is running very hot. So I'm going to turn this off. This way, the noise actually is a bit less. There you go. Now you can see the server is completely off right now. There is no power to the server. The server, all the servers are down. Now we can do this because remember, this is not a prod or this is not critical right now.
What is the production server means?
Prod or production server is which is making money for the company. And they cannot be shut down because if they go down, your banking websites go down. People on eBay or Google will not be able to reach their websites. That's production, that's prod. And they cannot be down for even a nanosecond. That means the people will lose whatever they were making. For example, Facebook. Millions of people are right now on Facebook or TikTok. Could you imagine that these websites having an interruption? That's not possible. Those servers that are running these applications are called prod or production.
Production server is basically a server which is running a critical application, which is critical for the business. Okay, so production server is like a different type of a physical server, or this is the same server, but because it's playing a vital role, it's called a production server.
You're absolutely right. That's what you mentioned. They just said it. The answer is in your question, that these servers are exactly the same. The only thing is that they are working at a level, what we call a prod level. They do have different levels in the companies. There's a development level that can be shut down. There's other levels that you learn later. We don't want you to get too much depth into these things. But prod is moved, once the development is done, that they are moved to prod. They have special characteristics, meaning anyone in my company or any other company in the Fortune 500, Fortune 1000, if you as a system admin would like to work on the prod, you would have to get an approval from the higher bosses because they cannot be down. If they go down, the company will lose money. They are very critical.
Yeah, we will talk about the architect of the data center and different environments within the company in the DevOps program. You have different environments. The production servers run most critical applications. They need to be up 24 by 7. In parallel, you could also have dev and the testing environment. That's where you you install any updates before you apply them to the production servers. So the lingo understanding of the environment is very, very important. Like I said, these are the things Udemy, YouTube cannot teach you. These are the practical things and how this is what they will ask you on your interview. How many servers you have, how many prod servers you have, how many dev servers you have, how many test servers you have, what are their configuration. An interviewer can also ask you what Shahid sir, our coach Shahid, showed you the configuration of the server. He showed you different components. He showed you that there is a 32 gigabyte of RAM.
Correct.
He showed you that there are two Xeon processors. He showed you the hard drive capacity. That's the configuration of the server. That's what the server capacity is. They can also ask you that on the interview. Anyway, we're going to continue with learning the fundamentals.
So let's jump into these components, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, hard drive, we showed you by removing the front caddy. We call it, the word is caddy. Learn the lingo because this lingo tells another person, your manager or your coworker, your peers, how well versed are you in technology. If you call this a tray, that's fine, but the word is caddy because the caddy is holding a hard disk. This is a hard disk, which I can unscrew from the sides, and it is placed in a caddy, which is right here. The caddy actually is what connects the hard disk to our server, right here. So everybody's clear on the hard disk side, right? Now let's move on to the internal components. These are.
Is it always the hard drive is always plugged into the front of the server?
Some servers do have internals,
Okay.
but not in this particular model.
Okay.
Why do we have hard disks? Let me ask some of these questions. And panelists or co-hosts in our group, please try to see who's answering them correctly. Why do we have hard disk on the outside? Can anybody answer this question? Why do we have, the rest of the components are internal, why do we have one component, which is hard disk, that can be removed without, first of all, powering down the server, and secondly, without even removing the cover? Ladies and gentlemen, can you answer this question too for me? In the chat, please, in the chat.
Some of them are saying it is easily accessible, it is easily replaceable. For that reason, they
But
have.
why? Why is it easily accessible? That's the question is. Why is it easily accessible and replaceable? Why?
Oh, very good question. So what you're saying is, why didn't they install the RAM accessible to you?
Yes.
Why isn't the CPU accessible to you without opening the lid?
Exactly.
Why just the hard drive component? Why not the fan?
What are my people saying here?
They are saying if you want to repair, to
Increase the size.
transfer, maintenance.
Well, the answer to that is, ladies and gentlemen, because they will die the quickest. In all of these components, they do fail or die the quickest. That's why they are constantly in our shelves in the data centers. As soon as it's about to die, these smart hard disks will tell you as a system admin, I'm about to die, please replace me before I'm completely dead, which is called SMART, S-M-A-R-T, which stands for something. We'll learn that later. The hard disk speaks to you. Hard disk will tell the system admin, I'm about to fail. Please replace me before I'm completely dead. That's why these hard disks are easily replaceable and they are outside of the server. So you got your answers, ladies and gentlemen? The rest of the components, if you would like me to move on, are the fans, very critical for our temperature of the server. Otherwise, the components will melt. The components, I have seen melted components because the fan fails, the server will shut down. Yes, there you go. Right now, the server is completely off. They're disconnected, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen. And you have multiple fans. So they can easily be replaceable while the server is up and running. And make sure if you are working on these servers, you are connected to your server. One thing that I have not mentioned so far, I'm not going to forget about it because every company, especially the hardware part or hardware engineers, must inform you that as a human, we do have something called ESD, electrostatic discharge. You might have felt that in winter temperatures, or when you walk through the carpet and you touch the knob on the door, you feel a zap. That zap is basically electrostatic discharge from your body, which your body is generating without knowing. You feel the zap on the door knob, but on the server, you might not even feel it, and you might have damaged the components or the motherboard or the processor or the RAM if you are not careful. So how do we work on these servers without damaging them? I will always be in contact with my left hand or right hand or with my fingers on the metal part of this server. If I need to get into any of these components, I would not remove my hand. Otherwise, I am going to damage the server. So everybody's clear on that? Keep your hand connected. There's actually a strap that we can use, electrostatic discharge, but that's beyond us for now. We're not going to work on these servers. If you do, or if it ever comes to you, you will know. So the fans right here, this is called a drive cage because this, you can see, all the drives are connecting internally. So if you can bring it here, closer to here, right here, you see this? This is a drive cage. This cage is connected to a ribbon, and the ribbon is connected to the motherboard. We'll come into that later because this is also a very critical component of a server. Right here, the ribbon is connected to something called RAID, R-A-I-D, R-A-I-D. This is what controls our data, stores our data right here, ladies and gentlemen.
This is the RAID card.
This is a RAID controller, yes.
RAID control.
RAID card. You mentioned the card. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go into there, let me show you if my server is missing a component, for example, a good video card. I need to, process a lot of graphics, and the server did not come with good graphic card. I can always buy one and attach here. This is called expansion slot. All computers and even laptops have expansion slots, but their sizes and their characteristics differ. So we're good with this? This is a connector that goes with the motherboard, and you can place your cards here. This is called a riser card right here, riser. But the riser card is basically which holds our expansion cards. Are we good with this? I'm going to connect back. Press it in. Like I said, blue, the server has to be down. Orange or yellow, the server can be running and you still can replace them. I did remove a heat sink. This is not a processor, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a processor. This is just a heat sink. If you're familiar with auto parts, we have something called radiator in our car that keeps the engine cool. Why? Because the engine needs to be, if the radiator leaks, the engine dies. The same formula applies here as well. We do have liquid cooled, but this is air cooled, meaning the air has to pass through the heatsink to keep this heatsink cool. Why? Because this heatsink is actually cooling this component, one of the most important component or the brain of the server, which is, ladies and gentlemen, what is it? The brain of the server? Say something. CPU, there you go, love you. CPU. This is our brain of the server. Can you guess how much these CPU would cost in upward of? Not the minimum. Minimum would be $1,000, but upward of. Can you guess? 10,000? 1,000? Yes, 10,000 to 25,000 just for this component. Let me show you. I'm going to lift the lever up and lift this server up. There you go. And the CPU actually comes off. I'm going to hold the CPU with my very careful because I do not want to damage the pins. This is our processor. This is all actually 24 karat gold.
Damn.
This is 24 karat gold.
Ladies, pay attention. This is 24 karat gold.
Yes.
Don't ask for jewelry. Ask for servers in your dowry, okay? No more jewelry. Ask for servers.
No, that's what that's what they're doing. They're melting these older components to get the gold out.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing
Yeah,
nowadays. So this is
Also, the RAM chip also has a
that-
gold
yes,
plating.
that right
So we gotta show these ladies, man. That's how they're gonna start. That's how they're gonna
Right here,
fall in love
this
with
is a
this
RAM
product.
stick, and this is all gold as well.
Ladies, pay attention. 24 karat gold. This could be on your neck. All right. Take control. Come work on these servers. Steal one. Don't ask for jewelry anymore. Ask for servers in your jahiz.
So this is a processor. It tells you everything. But remember, on these servers, they're constantly running, so they need something called thermal paste. The word is thermal paste. This paste allows metal to bond and keep a close contact between each other. Thermal paste. Whenever I would replace a processor, the vendor would send me a fresh thermal paste, meaning I have to clean this paste off and use a fresh thermal paste. But since this is all educational purposes, this is not a prod. Remember the word prod? This is not a prod. We can work without the thermal paste. I'm going to disconnect. Connect back again. One more time. Where's the processor? Right here, ladies and gentlemen. How many processors do we have? How many processors do you guys see? Two. 1 and 2. One is already there, and I just removed one. Do not ever touch the gold part. Ooh, never. Because body oils would damage these components. Now, nobody asked why are these gold? Can anybody guess why these pins, these connectors are gold?
Because the inventors knew Desi people would be working on it, and they all have wives and they love 24 karat gold, and that's why make it a gold plated. That's the simple answer. You know?
Yeah, they thought of everything.
But these ladies didn't know this before. Now they're gonna fall in love with this class because there's 24 karat gold in it.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Well, the purpose of gold is that it does not rust, and the contact between gold and gold is better than copper or brass or any other metal. That's why. So I'm going to put back our heat sink. This is a heat sink back on where it was. Make sure that it does align, but otherwise it will not work. Meaning exactly the way I took it off, you would just need a Phillips head screwdriver.
So hold on a second, Shad, I'm a little bit confused over here.
Sure.
When I ran the command ls CPU, okay, it showed me that there are two sockets.
Two sockets, yes.
What does that mean, two sockets?
Yes, sockets are basically our port, our connectors on the motherboard. That's called sockets.
That's where the physical CPU goes in?
That's where the physical.
Into one single socket?
Correct. Correct.
And then, so this is one socket, this is another socket?
Two sockets.
So these are two sockets?
There you go.
All right. So now, I know the ls CPU said two sockets, but then I also noticed the ls CPU said that you have 32 CPUs.
Oh, very good.
32 cores.
Very good.
How do you make these two CPUs? How do you convert them into 32 CPUs?
Oh, that's a very good question. I can show you actually how it works.
Yeah.
But if you were paying attention, ladies and gentlemen, you saw that it mentioned cores It mentioned cores.
Cores, C-O-R.
C-O-R-E-S.
Cores, okay.
So these processors have multiple cores. You can look up on your laptop or desktops how many cores your laptop has. Most likely is going to be a quad core processor or hexa-core, which is 6, or octa-core, which is very high-end processor if you have a very good laptop or a desktop. But most likely it's going to be a 4-core processor. But these servers are actually somewhere from 12 to 24 to 32 cores each, meaning if this is a 20 core or 32 core, multiply that with actually 2 to virtualize it. But it's too much information, so I don't want them to get confused. But just remember that each processor has number of cores. How? Because back in the day of 25 years ago, they had only a single core. They tried to include Pentium, meaning 2 cores. Pentium 2 had 2 cores. Okay. Remember Pentium? There was a Pentium, then Pentium 3, 4, 5, and then they got rid of the word Pentium. Now they have all these different i7, i3, i5 from Intel. There is another company called AMD, which makes a processor as well. They also have the cores, C-O-R-E-S. These cores basically speed up your system. The number of cores are more, the faster your system processes. If you have only 2 cores or dual core, your system is going to halt to a slow dead stop.
So, okay, CPU is the brain of the computer.
It's the brain of the computer.
So what you're saying is these two CPUs collectively work as 32 brains
Correct.
of the computer.
Correct. If they are 16 cores, yes.
Right. Also, I can think of it like a highway with a single lane.
Oh, yes.
Versus a highway with 32 lanes.
32 lanes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Perfect.
So right now, my brain only does one processing at a time.
Correct.
I'm talking to you, I can only talk to you and listen to you.
Right.
That's a single brain.
It's a very high level of understanding, that's why.
Yeah.
That's why.
If I have 32 brains, my processing power would be a lot better. I'll be talking to you, I'll be taking their questions, I'll be writing an essay, I will be working on a Linux operating system.
You can basically do 32 times the number of tasks.
I think that's what the AI is going to do for us.
Yes, that's what it's.
Every single human being will have an AI agent for themselves, which will be doing their daily chores, like responding to emails,
Correct.
writing, working on some task, which is a repetitive task, while you're doing other important things, which is critical thinking.
Right.
In my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, if you have young kids, put them to good schools and make sure they learn how to think critically.
Yes.
Okay.
Critical,
And
yes.
critical thinking is going to be an asset for the new generation, because AI is going to do pretty much most of the chores. Critical thinking, creative thinking is going to be a thing. And even in today's market, if you can think clearly and if you can be very specific with your prompts, you can do amazing things with AI right now. But tell you one thing, AI is not going to take over this job right over here, managing servers, because AI run on top of these servers.
Yes.
That's the reality. Okay. The more AI is taking over the world, the more servers are going to be needed. All right.
Yep.
The more people are jumping on to ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and any other AI platform, Gemini, the more power resources are needed, more computing power is needed. More computing power means more data centers. More data centers mean more presence of these servers. More servers mean more technical people who can manage them. More server also means more deployments of the operating system Linux and more applications. Now, in today's age, everybody can code. Okay, you have a beautiful idea and you want to implement it. There are platforms out there. You simply go and explain in English what your idea is. And and that website, that platform will give you the code. What does that mean? it means there's going to be more applications being generated. Every single person now have the ability to execute their idea, whatever is in their brain. They can actually make it work and give it to our civilization. So the number of applications are going to explode. When the number of applications explode, what do we need at the end of the day to run those applications? Servers. Is it a coincidence that World Economic Forum 2025 jobs report is listing DevOps as the fastest growing industry, fastest growing skill? Time for you guys to pay attention and start thinking about what you want to do with your future. AI, cybersecurity, DevOps, networking, all of these are great skills to have. Let's continue, Shahbaz. Sorry.
No problem. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into first we look at the hard disk. We identify the hard disk by removing the caddy, and the hard disk is actually inside the caddy. You can slide it in and out, but you have to be careful with all these components. You have to be extra careful. You cannot just unplug these devices and you would expect to have them back in an optimal way that it was running. That means if you remove something or you disconnect something, there could be a data damage. It could be a component damage. So you always be very extra careful with all these components before removing them. We identify the drive cage. There are some other components here which is not too heavy or not too necessary here. So the fans, welcome to the bike. So we have fans here that we removed, and we showed you by removing the fan, you could heat up the server and the server would melt. Then we remove the heatsink, not the processor. The processor is actually under the heatsink. The heatsink is only cooling the processor, which is very super hot. Super hot. You know how hot it could be? It could give you a second-degree burn. So never touch a processor while the server is running. Never remove the heatsink while the server is running. Now, our fifth component would be our RAM or memory stick. Random access memory is what RAM is. Random access memory. The word implies, because it's randomly being accessed by the processor, that's where our RAM stick, this is called a RAM stick. Never touch the pins or connectors on these components. Like I said, this is a 24 karat gold pins.
Ladies, pay attention. 24 karat
Yes.
gold right there.
The sticker.
You want the address? You want this address for this place? All right. All right.
So we have.
I'll give you the code too.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, here, always be in contact on this platform with the touching the metal. The RAM sticks. The RAM sticks are what is our temporary memory. All right? Okay. Temporary memory. What does temporary memory means? Asad, Coach Asad, Sir Asad Bhai have already mentioned many times about RAM. RAM is what holds whatever you are looking at or accessing on your monitor. Anytime the server boots, the word booting meaning what? The server starts, everything for the operating system, including the files, whatever needs to be run, is in the RAM. Whether you see it on the screen or not, but it's inside the RAM. Even if I pull the hard disk out while the server is running, the entire operating system is actually sitting in the RAM. So if you have less memory or slow RAM, slow memory, your system is slow. If you have a lot of RAM memory, which is 32, well, they go into 4, 8, 16, and so on. If you have 128 gigabyte, which is actually slow for server, the maximum I have seen is 4 TB, not the hard disk. I'm not talking about hard disk, ladies and gentlemen. We are at the chapter of RAM. I have seen 4 TB of RAM in a server. And this is at an enterprise level. Yes, I have seen. This is amazing because I actually forgot to ask you, how much do you think that these processor and these components cost?
I think you did ask for the CPU.
CPU, okay. This RAM is $1,000 per stick or more, because these are critical components. Not because of their goal, because of the space, because of the amount of capacity that RAM has. So they will make your server either slow or fast. So be extra cautious when you're ordering a RAM when you're ordering a server. These servers are not available for you to purchase anywhere, except you have to configure to order. There's a word called configure to order, meaning you as a system admin would go and place an order for all of these components. I need two processor with certain speed. I need RAM with 1 TB or 512 GB. I need number of hard disks. I need other components. I need maybe 4 power supplies. So that means you are configuring to order, and every server is unique when it comes to that. What do you mean by that? You can't go to a Best Buy or a Walmart and get a laptop, same as you can get a server. You cannot do that. You can get a laptop or a desktop from Best Buy because they are sitting on the shelf. There are no shops. Yes, used, yes, that's fine because they have been returned or they have been out of lease or somebody got rid of them. That's used servers. But companies do not work with used servers. Companies, they have a budget of $1 million just for few servers. So what does that mean? You as a system admin has a job to order them in some cases. So you would configure to order these servers from the vendor. The vendor will ask you what components do you need. Depending on components you order, the price of the server goes up. Are we good on that, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes.
So this is a RAM. The RAM looks like this, and you have to place it right here. There is something called a tab, a spacer, a space, because you do not want to insert this RAM into this slot and break it. There you go. There, if I can turn on the the light, you will see that there is a spacer because this has to match. This has to match. The spacer has to match the slot. So if I'm going to place it accordingly, then I can push with my thumbs and it would click. Hear it out. Hold on. There you go. 1, 2 clicks. Let me do it again. I push the tabs on the side. The RAM pops up. I will lift it up. Now, if I turn it, it would not even go in. You see that? It's
not lined
wiggling.
up.
It's wiggling. You know why? Because you do not want to insert the RAM wrong way. Same goes for the processor. So now it's not wiggling, it's sitting. Now I have to press 1, another press, and the locking tabs is holding the RAM. They generate a lot of heat. They generate a lot of heat here too. These are just blanks. These are just blanks, plastic pieces to cover. That means we can upgrade. The word is upgrade. Upgrade meaning what? We can add more RAM.
So these are just blank
Just
covers.
blank covers, yes.
There's no actually RAM in here.
No RAM. The only RAM
What's the significance of these colors?
right here. Very good question that you asked. Very good question right here. So it's telling you which slots to fill first. It's saying first fill the white, then the black, and then the green, as you can see. Right here, it says memory configuration. This is how the memory is going to work. You cannot just fill whatever you want, but you have to follow the guide of this server. Otherwise, the manufacturer, the memory will not be recognized and they will fail, and you could also damage it.
Okay, so there is actually no cover of the RAM. It's just this. I would say placeholder.
Yes.
This is a placeholder. There's no RAM inside of it. This is just a placeholder sitting over there. So in case down the road you want to upgrade your RAM, the server RAM, you can always come and put it over here, install it over here. This is called installing RAM. So if you're going to be working in the data center, you will be working with these servers. And if you're working for a small company, they expect you to know all of these things. But it's literally 2 days job to understand the server.
That's all. Yeah.
Literally. If you were physically present over here, which we used to have, let me just come over here. we used to have in-person classes. I'm good. We used to have in-person classes, and we used to have them at the Utica Center in Brooklyn, and we used to have server for every student on their desk, and we used to give them these hardware classes, the networking classes. The server, we would used to take out all the parts, and the students would put all the parts together, and then rack it and stack it and put it on the network and configure the network. That was really, really fun. Some of my students who are highly, highly successful, those were the ones who came to the in-person classes. After Corona, nobody, none of you guys would want to come in person. We were paying a heavy price for that. So we moved our servers, we gave up on that spot. We're no longer there. So therefore, we have this hangout spot over here, which is a full-fledged house, private house. We have horses in the back too, beautiful horses. It's like a farmhouse, like a setting over here. Beautiful neighborhood. Come, stop by, play with the servers, and yeah, play with the servers and have fun. And by the way, just if you like this kurta that you see over here, we're also marketing for Junaid Jamshed. Uh,
Like I said, the sense of humor, that's by always going to be there, and that's to keep you engaged.
you know, if you like this kurta, we have it available.
Mine is always custom made.
It's a custom made. By the way, Shahid Bhai has probably never spent more than 30 days in Pakistan. Yet he's a true Pakistani representing his culture.
Love it, yes.
Just seriously. And I've just started hanging out with him. I started wearing a lot of salwar kameez as well. And I tell you one thing, they're comfortable.
They're very comfortable.
Wallahi, they're very comfortable. But
Just to recap, ladies and gentlemen, we have the first front of the server with power USB port, power button. We have hard disk caddies that connects, and we do have blanks. Like I showed you, this is a blank.
this is a blank.
Yes, this is a blank, and this is a hard drive caddy. The hard drive caddy is just to pull the caddy out. You can replace the hard disk inside the caddy. Once you have done that, this connects inside into an internal component
Biggest.
with some good. So we have fans connecting 7 fans in this particular model. Each and every model has different numbers. We have processors, one of the most important components or parts, you can call them whatever, but the word is component. These are server components. These components are what makes the server important and run, and they fail. The most easily breakable or dieable is our hard disk, which die every day. They have a lifespan of, it used to be more, but now it's only 2 years. So every 2 years or before, you have to replace it. That's where our RAID comes in. That's the next topic I'm just going to briefly brush over. The RAID is connected, the hard disks are connected to this RAID. This ribbon has RAID, R-A-I-D. If you look up ChatGPT or Google, you will get more information. But RAID is what allows hard disks to fail, but not data loss. Meaning these hard drives can be replaced no matter what. But can you replace your documents, your pictures, your baby pictures, or any documents that has been in your hard disk? If they're gone, they're gone. You'll not be able to get them back. So that's where server RAID comes in, meaning the hard disks, the hard drives can fail, but your data will always be intact. There is some component, we call it magic RAID or whatever, it is always going to be available no matter what. So that's the card right here, which has
Also, another benefit of using the RAID. So let me just say RAID once again. We have bunch of hard drives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many hard drives are this server is capable of handling?
8.
8 hard drives. Individually, let's just say theoretically, each hard drive is capable of holding. Take a closer look of what? RAID? Here.
Sure.
RAID. This cable goes all the way. All of these hard drives are connected through this cable to this RAID card right here. Okay. Pay attention. We have 8 hard drives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are individual hard drives for one server, right? If each one has a capacity of 100 gigabyte, then you're limited. So basically, if you do not have a RAID card, you can only store 100 gigabyte data individually on these hard drives, right? If there's no RAID card. With the presence of RAID card, you can take all of these hard drives and then you can combine them and make a one large volume, one large disk out of it. It's called logical volume. So you take 8 physical hard drives logically through the operating system or through the hardware through the RAID software, you can combine these 8 hard drives and make a logical volume out of it. Now, 8 hard drives multiply with 100 gigabyte is what? 800 gigabyte of data you can store as a one large volume. Otherwise, you are limited to 100 gigabyte of storage capacity for each hard drive. Okay, that's the beauty of RAID. And when you go for a Linux admin, Linux engineer interviews, they're going to ask you what is RAID, and then there are 2, 3, 4 type of RAID configuration, which we will show you down the road.
We want to take a break, or they ask you for a break? We want to take a break, or we want to finish this?
I want to finish this because you're very close. Okay. Then we'll take a break and then we will continue.
Okay, perfect. Well, we just to recap: hard disk, drive cage, fans.
Or this first.
We have RAM sticks, memory sticks right here, memory slots. That's folding the sticks. We have processor, CPUs, CPU1, CPU2. All of this is identified on the back cover of a server. Whether it's HP, Dell, Cisco, no matter what the vendor, whoever the vendor is, you will have an entire picture, manual, or configuration on the back of this server's lid or cover, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, it will identify which components are located where, so you don't have to guess. And secondly, it holds a memory configuration where would you place the memory slots, memory sticks into which slots, and also instructions on how to remove these components right here. Hot swap and system task, meaning hot swapping mean anything which is orange color or yellow color, you can hot swap it, meaning the power does not has to be shut down. The system does not have to be shut down, and you can remove them, and the system will not stop. But anything which is cold swap, meaning blue, you would have to shut down the system. One other component that which is very critical are these power supplies, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, this is 1100 watt power supplies. They draw a lot of power, let me tell you that. If you want a server in your home, get ready to pay additional $100 to $200 a month just for one server. Somebody knows that very well because you're running server in your home.
Yeah.
So you have 1100 watts, and if they're constantly both are running, you will see the power consumption and your power bill going up. That's why you have to have a very good power source in the data center.
Now you can.
Okay, perfect. So we can just slide this out and in and out. As you can see the color, meaning we can remove these power supplies one at a time, and the system will still keep running. Power supplies, processors, RAM, fans, motherboard is the biggest components of this server. I showed you a riser card, which connects different expansion cards. We showed you the back of the server and the front of the server as well. The RAID controller. Now remember, this is a this is a smaller RAID controller, but if you try to get a bigger or more hard drives or better hard drive, you can add another RAID controller with the ribbon and all that. Now, there are some unimportant components like the battery. There's a coin battery that holds the information about all these components. We call it BIOS. This is a BIOS battery or the CMOS battery, CMOS. This is also very critical because remember, right now there is no power to this system. As you can see, it's disconnected. But this battery allows all of these components configuration to be saved in BIOS, BIOS. And that goes for your motherboard, for your laptop and desktop as well. There is a battery in your laptops and desktops. These batteries hold a charge for 10 years. So after 10 years, you will see it's degrading. So you would have to replace this about $2-3. And besides that, you do have some other slower components. We don't need to worry about them. But some of the major components we have covered. And racking and stacking them, we had showed you that. So you can see that these can easily be stacked on top of each other, but they have side railings. We can connect them so we can take them out one at a time. So that's what the word rack and stack comes in. So they can be, remember, there is another type of servers called tower, which your desktops looks like towers, but these are rackables, right? Are we good with that? One component or one other piece of networking device, which we already have here, I would like to show, is a small network switch, which we connect our home devices or small home office,
Can
right?
I talk to you
Sure.
for 1 second, Shabbai?
You want me to stop this?
No, continue with this. You mentioned about the hard drive, you mentioned about the RAM, you mentioned about the CPU, right, Shabbai? The
Yes,
hard drive is a storage which stores data permanently.
correct.
When you install the operating system from an external DVD, it goes and sits on your hard drive.
Correct.
Then when you power on the server, your operating system, some of its critical files, especially those sitting in the /etc directory, /boot directory, /proc, they get loaded, they get copied into the RAM.
Into the RAM, yes.
Why?
Or
This is a question that was asked by Qualcomm guy to one of my student after he interviewed 30 people and he rejected all of them. Simple question. The rate was $65 an hour and he asked this simple question. And then why? Because the storage, this drive is the slowest link in your server. This is the slowest part of your slowest component of your server. The next fastest component is your RAM. So we go from hard drive, the data goes from hard drive to RAM, right? So this is slowest. This is the next fastest from the hard drive. Next fastest is RAM. This is called memory, temporary memory. This is where the files get copied from here to this chip, RAM memory chip. Now, you guys are going to make a mistake. You're going to call this device memory device. This is storage device. This is memory device. Remember that. The next fastest component in this server is your CPU. This is the fastest component in your server. So somebody's going to ask you this question from the component disk, memory, and the CPU ran from being slowest to the fastest one.
interview question. Yes, you're absolutely right.
So hard drive. And also, out of these two components, the first one to fail, right? The first one is to fail is the hard drive. It has a capacity life of 2 years. The next one to fail, the common failures in a server, is your RAM. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
RAM, most often you will see a faulty RAM.
Correct.
This you will see 100% hard drive fail, hard drive fail. Don't lose your life over this. Hard drive fail is okay. That's why we have a RAID card. Memory, That's where we have multiple memory slots. If memory fails, you got to replace this. That's why you have hardware warranties from Dell and HP vendors. The last one to fail on this motherboard, and correct me, Shadba, you're the authority in this, is the motherboard.
Last one, yes.
The last one to fail. Okay? The standalone soldier.
Correct.
The last one to die is the motherboard. And the second last is the CPU.
CPU, yes.
CPU.
Very robust.
Very robust. Runs for years. But if this guy dies, you're out of business.
Mhm.
Okay?
The brain, yes.
Yeah.
Brain dead.
Yeah. If the motherboard or the CPU dies, if the motherboard dies at that point, what do they do usually? They replace the motherboard or
They do.
just replace the server?
No, replace the motherboard,
Replace the
which
motherboard.
is about $25,000 to $5,000 each,
Okay, depending on.
depending on.
And quite honestly, on a used a website like eBay, how much this server can cost? First of all, tell me when they came out.
Oh,
originally,
okay. Would you?
How much they were?
They were okay.
How much they were, and now how much you can buy it for?
Okay, so somebody is asking. I'm going to ask you a question, ladies and gentlemen. What was the number that when we showed you? What number or what make and model this was? A Dell? What? What was the make and models? Can you please mention this in the chat? If you remember, if you were writing this stuff down, it's a Dell, but what make and model is this? So 260, no. To no 260, no. This is a 620. No, it's not a 640, it's a 620. Good. Some of you are writing this stuff down, and it's very good that you guys are writing this down. 620, R620, right here. Power Edge, R620, right there. The word Power Edge is the model because this is a rack model. That's why they call them Power Edge. R is for rack. R is for rack. If it was a tower, it would say T. And if it is a six meaning 1.5 inch long or height, the two signifies the generation. Right now, let me tell you that. Let me tell you that right now we are at 650 or 660 is coming out. 650 is what is being used, meaning this is about 3 generations old, which is about 15 years old. When we bought these servers about 5 years ago, they were very expensive, 1,000 a piece. We paid 1,000 a piece, and this is all for students to work on. That's why they have operating system and they're running. And the zero signifies who's the processor maker, meaning what processor can we, if this was a five, the five meaning AMD, but zero means Intel. So R is for rack, six is the height, meaning 1.5 inch. If it was a seven, it will be a 2U, 2U. This is a 1U height. Six is what it is. Two is a generation, meaning it's not a second generation, but this is a 12th generation of Dell servers, 12. Right now, we are at the 15th, and the 16th generation is just coming out. The 2 is 12th generation, so 3 will be 13, 4 will be 14, 5 will be 15, and 16 is coming out our R660. They are coming, they are due out, coming out soon. These generations are similar to what your phone's technologies are because they want you to spend money and they are, they work with the recent technologies. Okay, so these are same as you buy an iPhone or an Android device, you would buy a Galaxy, what is that, S25, S24, and so on. You would buy an iPhone 15, 16. The technology always goes with the generation. The recent generation, the more money you would pay, okay? So this is about 3 generations old. And just by looking at them, you should be able to identify. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, knowledge is power. You mention these things to your peers, to your coworkers, to your managers, maybe to impress them or to show that you are a very well-versed person on the server, on this technology. Let's switch.
Switch.
Yes, I'm gonna. Yeah, that was my next topic. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we go to break, let me just show you a smaller version of a networking switch, which is right here, which has 8 ports right here, which is small home office or small office or in your home. This is just a switch right here. This is just a switch. And this is what we call unmanaged. But look at this bigger version of the switch, which Asubai mentioned many times, has 48 ports right here, 48 ports. This is a managed switch, meaning what? This is made by a Cisco system right here, Cisco system, a giant in networking, a significant name in networking. The model of this switch is Catalyst 3560G, and it's a PoE. Let's not get into that. This has 1 through 48 ports, meaning I can connect 48 computers, 48 printers, 48 servers to this, right? Ladies and gentlemen, are you with me so far? This is a 48 port switch. Each of these ports can be configured according to the speed, according to the need, according to VLAN information. But we're not gonna go into depth about this, just so you can see and know that how does these switches connect. There are some called trunk ports that the switches connect to other switches. So switches will connect through fiber. This is all copper switch. This is a copper switch. These ports are fiber ports, meaning they work at the speed of light. Fiber is speed of light. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is almost the end of our session.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you guys to Asad Khan. He joined Linoop in 2019, graduated in 2020. Been working in the industry for the last 5 years now. And he's worked for a financial institution. He's working for a top-notch retail company. And he's their lead infrastructure engineer. He's leading a team of how many people?
About 7 people.
7 people under him, onshore and offshore. He is an Ansible expert, and he's also Red Hat certified system administrator. He has tons of hands-on experience. He is going to be helping you guys with Ansible. Ansible is the automation platform where you will learn how to install and configure applications across systems, hundreds and thousands of systems. And that's also called infrastructure as a code, which is a very, very powerful tool in the industry. And so he's going to teach you Git, and he's going to teach you Ansible. You want to share your story a little bit?
Gigi,
Yeah.
coming on the phone?
Yeah. Hold.
Okay. So first of all, Assalamu alaikum. Hi everyone. My name is, as Subhai said, Asad Khan. My education is from Pakistan. No, I was born here, but Desi families left back. Did my education for 11 years in Pakistan and then came back. Zero computer background, zero knowledge. The only thing I know in computer is how to play games, unless if my cousin, he can help me start up the computer. But that's it. I used to work at BJ's. People who live in America might know it's basically Berkeley and Jensen. It's just like Costco. So I used to work there at minimum wage, making the max I made there was $11 an hour. I started from 7, and 2 years in 2017 I came here. I worked here for 2 years, and I had no vision, no nothing. But through someone, a family, my brother's friend, actually my cousin's friend, I met Asad Bhai during the month of Ramadan. And Asad Bhai guaranteed me that after 6 months I can walk away with a job from 90K to 100K. And I thought, this guy is not telling the truth. I can't tell you the word that I thought, but basically I thought he was not telling the truth. And then I trusted him. The only thing he asked was to trust him and to work and study according to what he and his team will say. But at that time, the team was not that big. Alhamdulillah, that's right now for Lenovo. So I took his class for 6 months. And during the class, I started realizing that, okay, I think this can get me somewhere, not just a job, because making money in America is not difficult if you are willing to work, but making a career, having a vision, not just changing my life but changing my family's or people around me, that's what I would see. Because I had no friends here, as I told you that my half of or 90% of my life was in Pakistan. So I made friends here, I made family, I made brothers, and not I just didn't get the job. I made good connections, and Alhamdulillah, Sabbai gave me the opportunity to be a part of Linoop, and I hopefully looking forward to mentor all of you, as been doing over the years. But it was a long struggle. It was something very hard for me, but at the end, it was very, very satisfying because I achieved something finally. I had the confidence to tell my family or siblings that I know something, I have a proper skill set. And after that, it was tough because I almost my luck was not that good, I would say, but alhamdulillah for everything. I initially gave about 30 to 35 interviews, but every interview was a learning point, right? Because I accepted this as a challenge, and I said, there's nothing to lose. I'm making $11 an hour, what am I going to lose? Nothing. If I can get something, you never know. So from there, the struggle started until now. Alhamdulillah, I've worked in a lot of companies, grew, and the only way I aced this skill set was hands-on practice. Everything that Asad Bhai, Nasir Bhai, Saim Bhai, or Shahid Bhai taught, I always practice minimum 2 to 3 hours a day. Okay, in the morning, in the afternoon, and because these things have to become your muscle memory. But other than that, I wish all of you best of luck, and I'm looking forward to see all of you inshallah after this 4 week class, and from there we'll be starting the journey. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, folks. We're going to take a break over here. We're going to come back at 2 o'clock. Going to continue working on the file system, the commands. So you can continue to learn how to manage your file system, how to store files, copy, ls, remove, move, and then we will have another hands-on session on this Wednesday. Then they are interested in joining the DevOps program. Send us an email, which is register@linoop.us. So we can start your onboarding process. The sooner you start, the sooner we can get you on board and get your account created on Slack, make you part of the community, and give you the tutoring classes to bring you up to speed, because I'm not going to repeat most of the concepts that I'm teaching in class right now. I'm going to dive right into Linux installation, and then we're going to start working on the Red Hat certification track. Red Hat certification is the most lucrative one, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to do some of your research and find out, why there's so mosquitoes over here. Yeah. So, so please do your research and see RHCSA. I want you to take a moment, go to Red Hat website and see if you wanted to learn RHCSA, which is Red Hat Certified System Administration Track. They will charge you roughly around $3,200. Within 5 days, the course will complete. 5 goddamn days. How can you expect to get certification after learning something in 5 days? How many days it has been? How many hours it has been with us? More than 20 hours. More than, God knows, 30, close to 30 hours now. We're not even close to starting to learn Linux. Okay, so just understand the value of this course and commit to the program if you're serious. 2 hours per day, and it's going to produce you the amazing results. See you 2 o'clock sharp on the Bangladesh, wherever you are. Okay. Hello, Coach Nasser.
I'm about to share the screen.
Go ahead. This is all yours now. I want you to cover the PWD, LS.
Sorry.
I want you to please cover the CD command, the mkdir, the CP, the RM, RM-R, RMDIR, all, the basics of file
course.
system. Yeah. And if you
Sure.
can magnify, make this font a little bigger.
Okay.
Okay. Once again, Nasser Bhai is here. He has 10 years of experience in the IT industry. He's worked for the top-notch companies. including IEEE. I'm not sure how many of you know what IEEE is. It's really a prestigious place to work for because they set the standards in the networking and in the computer science domain. I suggest you look at IEEE company. That's where this gentleman started. And he had a very exciting journey. That's like a dream to work for them 100%. Okay. So go ahead, Nasser. I'm sorry, man. I always take your time.
No, so thank you. And you certainly inflate the experience more than it deserves. But thank you for
No, I did not
Jazakallah.
include your fake experience, okay? This is all real experience. If I
No,
include your
no,
fake experience, that would be 15
no,
years.
no. I said you inflated. You make it larger than it is. But thank you for the
No,
motivation and encouragement that you are always,
Jazakallah.
mashallah, strong at. You always help people uplift their morale. Okay,
Jazakallah.
folks. All right. With that being said, let's go ahead and everybody do things as a regular user. So I'm going to switch to my user called Lino. All right. So I hope everybody has their terminals. And so to begin with, one thing we need to understand. I really want to get this out of the way. I know it is people get confused, and we really want to make sure that everybody in it. So here it is. So this is the overall system, right? This is the overall system. Now, obviously, there is a super user, right? The root user, the admin, and there is, the regular users that will be logging onto the system. Just like how, you have a president, in the country, and then you have the civilians, who will go on about their lives. So us being the regular users, our home directories, they are found under the root. There's a folder called home. And inside of that, each one of us have our home directories. Everybody has their private space. This is everyone's private space right here. Okay. This is just so that we all are able to distinguish. Everybody's home directory is within home of various sizes, depending on the files or directories that you may have created. Okay. This is where regular users will reside. They will have their home directories here. So this is for regular users. And if somebody could point out what, looking at this command line, looking at this command prompt, this is called prompt, command prompt. And of course, the command prompt is telling you that I am logged in as this user. And this is the name of the machine that I am on, called controller. I am a regular user called Linoop at the machine controller. And of course, we have covered this already. This tilde, this is called tilde, by the way, tilde or tilde or tilde. People have various names for it, but tilde, this represents this whole path right here. It represents your home directory. I'm just gonna put it here for the learning sake. This tilde equals to /home/ and username. Okay, that's what it is. So this is for the regular user. All the regular users that exist on a Linux system, they would have their private space here inside of /home folder. And if you are not a regular user, if you are root, then you too will have a folder under this very root. Let me make it larger. Oh, sorry. Let me make this a little larger, because this root is the mother of all the file systems. So within that, there will be a folder called root. Root. Okay. This is where the root user is the admin user. And what symbolizes admin users is a hash. And regular users, they are recognized through the symbol called what? $. We just need to understand that. This is the only thing we need to understand for now. Everybody resides under root. This is the root file system. But an administrator, somebody who controls the server or machine, who can do anything, they reside under but within a folder called root. That's their home directory. The word is home directory. So admin would have a separate home directory. All the regular users, they will be under /home folder. That's where their home directories are. I hope everybody's clear on that. Anybody lost or confused? I can certainly go ahead and repeat this. Everybody's good? I don't see any messages in the chat, just so that I get any confirmation. Everybody's good? All right, good. So regular users, they will be residing in /home / whatever the name. So with that idea in mind, I am Linux user, which is a regular user. How do I know that? Because the $sign, the dollar symbol. And when I do pwd, it clearly tells me this is my home directory. This is my private space. This is my personal space. This is where I could do whatever I want here. I cannot do it here in this home folder. I cannot do it on / because, I just don't have the privileges. Had I been root, yes, then I would have been able to do all the things that I wanted. So just for the understanding sake, understand this is command prompt. It tells you the user that you logged in, the machine that you're in, and this tilde symbolizes basically it this tilde basically equals to this whole path, whatever that is right here. Okay, as we have it on the painting. So with that idea in mind, folks, anything we will be doing at the moment, it will be within our private space. So we know the command ls obviously is to list. And this listing is just as it's equivalent to opening up a folder, right? So for instance, if I have, oh, my thing is taking a little time. Like, let's just say if I want to click here, if I want to click on my pictures, for instance, or my exports, when I click on it, that is ls. But when I see the stuff that's ls, but when I click on it, I cd. You click on it, cd, and what you see here on the screen is ls. So anytime you go somewhere, you always want to do ls, so you're able to list the content of that folder, whatever is within that folder. With that idea in mind, with this idea in mind, let's go to the top of the file system, which is, we know is this right here, right?
So Nasir bhai,
Yeah.
A little confusion. Can you go back on your screen?
Sure.
So here is a / before home, but after home again a /. So
Right.
both / are same, or there is some difference?
That is exactly what we're going to learn now, because the very first / is the most important /. So if you take this whole path, folks, if I copy this, thank you for bringing that up, Signby, and that's where actually I was headed to. If I paste this here, this very first / folks, right here, this one, this is a very important /. This / afterwards is just a simple separator. It just separates home folder from the Linoopt folder or directory. That's it. The very first /, as you have already seen in the painting that's in the background, is the mother root file system. Okay, this is the mother root file system. Every other / after that, it doesn't hold any significance except that it is a separator. It separates this folder. What essentially is saying home folder, inside of that is a folder called Linoopt. Whenever you see /, that means in or on, meaning it's embedded within this folder. That's essentially what it is. Okay. So we are going to actually understand this now, how this root, what importance it holds, and how we need to be able to navigate ourselves. So on the command line, everybody change your directory to the root file system. What's the command to change a directory? C for change, D for directory, right? You will notice most of the Linux commands, they are just acronyms. Let's just say PWD. It basically stands for print or present, and W stands for working, and D stands for directory. they are basically broken down, they're the initials, you can say, of the commands. Okay, so now let's go to the root. So cd slash the top of the files is where, so this is where everything is. This is where we are right now. Of course, pwd shows us that we are here. And what do we have here? What sort of files and folders do we have here? Can I cat it here? Can I say cat and then the name of anything here? How do I list this? ls. Very good. Anytime you're changing directories, you're moving around, you want to see what you have in a certain folder, you will type ls. Now, I said ls, show me what is in the current directory. Remember, if you type ls, and if you type something in front of it, call it, let's say, Dawood, if you type that, what you're saying is now, hey, ls, execute against this folder. Show me what is inside of this. This ls is not going to run where I am. It's not going to run on the current working directory. But now I have told ls, hey, go here. But if I remove this, ls is executing, or it's listing me the stuff of the folder that I am in. Keep that in mind, folks. When you type any command without an argument, it is trying to execute upon itself. So when you do ls, it is going to show you what's in this folder. But if you do ls, let's say I take a folder called tmp, and if I type tmp, which is in my current folder that I am in, it is going to show me what is inside of that folder. So now this ls is not running against where I am, but rather it's running against tmp, which is a folder that we saw in our previous command. When I did ls, there was a folder called tmp, and I did ls tmp now, and here you go, it shows me what it has here. Everybody good with that? Anybody lost or confused? I can go ahead, I can go slower if need be. Okay, very good. All right, beautiful. Good, beautiful. All right, very good. Now, also, so now with that idea in mind, we said we are in root directory, and when we do ls, we do see that there are a bunch of folders here. And out of all those folders, one of the folders does look familiar to us, which is home. Okay. If you are not seeing the files, you remember you have to change your directory to root, the top of the file system, the top of the hierarchy. When you do ls, you see a bunch of folders here. You see AFS, boot, etc. We went over them superficially, but one of the folders that looks like, like home, it kind of resembles to what we have here. /o. So this folder home is inside of this. That's exactly what it is. That's what it's telling us. When we do ls or show /, it shows us that the home is there. Now, when I did ls home, or if I do ls home, if I say ls home, does that mean that I have gone into that folder, or it is only going to list me that folder or show me what is inside of that folder? You have to understand, if I do ls against something, does it take me into that folder, or is it simply lists me content of that folder? It simply shows you. Yeah, so with that idea in mind, if I do ls var, I see a bunch of folders. This is the beauty where, on the Linux, you're able to, you don't have to change your location. You can look, I am still where I was, but then I instructed the system, hey, I'm not leaving. I am a little lazy. Well, not lazy, quite lazy. I don't want to leave my present working directory. I want to stay where I am, but I know ls, would you please show me what is inside of var? And it shows you what's inside of there. And then you do ls again. What do you have in your current folder? You want to take a look inside of home. You do ls home, and you will see all the users that exist. You guys will see a lot of users. I am not on Linoop server. I'm in my own server, but you guys will see maybe hundreds of folders there with your names. And one of those directories, one of those folders that you see belongs to you. So this basically helps us understand the fact that everybody resides inside of /home. And of course, within /home, everybody will have their unique, private space where they can go ahead and create files and folders and all that good stuff. Everybody understands that part? All right. Yeah, you can list that folder. Yeah, if I tried being Linoop user, I am Linoop user. What's the command to see who you are logged in as? What was the command that we learned, folks? Who am I think? Who am I? Very good. ID, yes, ID command. Yeah, so there's a bunch of ways to do things, right? Very good. But who am I? I'm logged in as Linoop. So if I do ls/home, and one of the folders belongs to some other person named Ansible, for instance. And if I do ls or /home, or I could simply do home, which is in my current folder, inside of that, there's a folder called Ansible. If I try to list it, it doesn't belong to me. It's someone else's folder. Should I have the privileges or rights to be able to list that? If it's someone's property, I mean, can I do that? No, I should not have permission to that. So if I hit enter, obviously permission denied because this is not my private space. This belongs to someone else. Only if you're admin. Beautiful. Very good. Very good. All right. Very good. Now, so if I do ls home /Linoop, which is my own space, Linoop. This is my place. This is my private space. If I try to list that, obviously I will be able to do that. But if I try to open list someone else's folder, it's going to say, hey, permission denied. You're trying to step over the territory. Please stay contained within your workspace. All right. So we got that idea in mind. We got that we are on top of the file system. We can list, the folders. Our private space is found in this folder right here, home. In home, and there's anybody would have their name. Let's just say if it's Sime, or if it's Omad, or whoever, or if it's James, everybody would have their space, private space. So if somebody asks you, let's say if I ask, pick one of you, let me ask Sukhveer Singh, if you are there, can you type in the chat what is the path to your home directory? If somebody asks you, what is the path to your home directory? Me being Linoop, what would be the path to my home directory? Considering this picture that we went over. /home/Rafi, /home/Sukhveer. Beautiful. And if I wanted to talk about user James, it would be /home/James. So, and of course, the root user's home directory would be root. Everybody understands that part. Very good. Now, if I was to talk about my home directory /home/Linoop, this whole path, folks, is called absolute path. So absolute path is that you provide the exact path where something is or where you're trying to do something, What are you trying to do? If you're trying to create a file, or if you're trying to create a folder, if you're trying to edit a folder, delete it, move it, whenever you use the root file system in beginning, whenever you use the /, that means this is called absolute path. Okay. There's no tilde now. Right. Do you notice why there isn't tilde? Am I in my home directory? Am I in my private space? I am not. So when you will be in your home directory, and how do you go to your home directory? Anybody remembers? How do we go to our private space where we can work? CD. And when you do that, you will immediately notice it has switched from / where I was to tilde. And what does this tilde represent for me being Linoop user? /home/Linoop. In your case, it will be /home/Sukhveer, /home/Ishtiaq. So whatever yours. Okay. What is the relative or a context path? Yeah, that's exactly where we're going to. So we understand whenever there is a root in front of the path, the very first /root or /var/log, that means this is an absolute path. Now, what is a relative path or relevant path? That basically means whichever folder you're in, whatever folders are there, the relationship between the folder that you have there versus where you are. That's what relative path means. So in that case, you are not. So right now, if I wanted to go into a folder called dir1 that I have in my home directory, just watch me. If I wanted to go into a folder called or directory called dir1, which is inside of my /home/linoop, how can I change directory to this dir1? How can I go inside of that folder? What would be the command, first of all? Command is change directory, cd. Now, some people are saying change dir1. Okay, very good. You guys, so this is called relative path. But what if I want to use the absolute path? If I wanted to give it the exact path so system knows where to go and doesn't make any mistake. So again, absolute path will start from the top and then trickle all the way down. That's right. So the absolute path would be /home. Within that, there's a folder called Linoop. Within Linoop, there's a folder called dir1. Everybody, beautiful. Everybody got it. Okay, very good. So that is the only difference. I could have simply done cd dir1 because I am within the dir1 is within my current folder. I could do that, right? Or if I wanted to be precise, I could do /home/linoop/dir1. Yes, this is a longer route, but this is a precise route. This is also relative path is just as fine, but relative path, you know where you are and what you have there. By you simply do ls, you see that there's a folder called dir1 or dir2. You could simply do cd dir1. It would work too. That's the only difference. One is a long path, but is a precise path. The other one is that you are within that folder, whatever folders that are in your present working directory. Relative to that, you're navigating, you're moving around according to that. With that idea in mind, now let's do this, everybody. Everybody create a folder inside of /tmp and with their name.
Nasir bhai,
Ji.
though this is irrelevant, actually, you started with the user admin. So a lot of people, they are confused and they are asking about admin. So when you say admin, so admin means root or this is root, admin user?
Root basically somebody who is able to do anything. Somebody who just like how we have Windows administrator, right? They have all the rights. They could do install, they could create users, they could partition the files, they could do all the the administrative tasks. That's what basically I meant. But that in Linux, the user that is in Windows, they call it administrator right here, administrator, and that is what equals to root on Linux. Okay. So when we say admin or when we say root, sometimes people use this interchangeably. So don't get confused. Essentially, that's what we are meaning. Whenever we say admin user on Linux, admin user on Linux is root. You could the only sometimes we just want to distinguish. But as you will move forward in the program, we will say it so many times that it will become your second nature. That you guys are and you will understand what the context is. In which context we are saying administrator, or in which context we are saying admin. Okay, thank you for that, Sambhai. So everybody, let's create a directory in /tmp with our own name. So I'm going to go ahead and create a folder. Now, looking at this, what I'm saying is make a directory. Inside of a root, there's a folder called tmp. Inside of that, there's a folder called Linoop. So make a directory in root. Remember, the very first root / is very important because that means we are using the absolute path. And inside of that, there's a folder called tmp. And now any / after that is just a separator. Inside of tmp, you have a folder called Linoop. That's all it is. Now, what happened to the touch? Touch is for files. Okay, yeah, touch is for files. We will come to that as well. Yeah, for right now, we're creating a folder. Now, folks, again, when we execute this command, do I go into /tmp and then I create this folder? Do I leave my space where I am? I don't. I am simply instructing the system, hey, this is where I want you to go and do the job. And now system is it knows that the system expects that there is a root file system, and within that there is a TMP, and within that there's a Linux folder. All right, let's go ahead, hit enter. Folder is there. Now Linux, because it's a black window, we always are going to have to confirm whether something is created or not. Now, do I need to cd into /tmp to check that? Or can I simply instruct the system to list me /tmp? Yeah, I can do ls. Again, we all are lazy and we don't want to move, so I'm going to say cd/tmp. Okay, when I do hit enter, so I'm saying is list me. Why we can't do cd? You can. So when you do cd to /tmp, then it's going to become relative path or relevant path. Okay, but if you can specify the path and just see what you want to see, which I do in this case, then why do I need to change my directory to /tmp? I mean, I know how to instruct the system what to do. Then why should I have to go to that particular directory and check it? Then you're going to have to perform two tasks. You're going to have to cd into this folder first, and then you're going to have to run ls. Whereas you're simply instructing the system, hey, just list me this. I don't want to go there. Just show me what's there. Exactly. Okay. Very good. All right, cool. Very good. So we just created a folder inside of /tmp called Linoop. Now, let's go ahead and create an, well, folks, it's 3 o'clock. Are we to pause here, Sambai, or should we continue? I don't know, folks. How do you feel? It's 3. I think, yeah, I think you guys probably would have to go about your.
3, we should stop here, I think.
I think so too. But we will continue.
Nasir bhai, you're asking
Sh-
something?
And Shahid bhai, I was asking, it's 3 o'clock, so we should stop here, right?
Yes, that's our time. Yes, please.
Okay. All right, great. Okay, folks. I'm sorry I came a little late today. I should have been here earlier. But again, we will continue to build our case on top of what we did. I think you guys are very good. I mean, Asad bhai, he's already embedded this into you guys, but I think you guys are really, on top of your game, mashallah. It's really, really nice that I didn't have to repeat. I didn't have to elaborate on relative path and absolute path, but I think you guys already have your foundation there with Saim Bhai and Asad Bhai. So, I mean, inshallah, I think we're going to build on top of this on coming Wednesday, and we'll see where this leads us. Okay. Once again, thank you so much for being here, everybody, and giving us the opportunity to show you the way. And those who are moving to the paid program, inshallah, you guys are going to have blast. Of course, we do expect a commitment. You got to give us those 2-3 hours every day, and inshallah, reward is huge, folks. I would highly encourage you to put in that hour, put in that time, if life permits you. I know everybody's in different circumstances. Everybody's fighting hard battles, but changing your life, of course, it would require a little bit of pain. You're gonna have to go through that little bit of suffering. But that only grows. It only expands your, it's plasticity. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make everybody a success here, a success story for your generations to come. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep everybody that is trying to change their life and enable them so that they end up achieving that utopia or that desired state of theirs. Okay. With that being with said, anybody has any questions, you can raise your hand and I shall come to you in orderly manner, and we can try to answer any sort of difficulties that you faced. Again, folks, please do not be asking me administrative questions or management questions. I'm very ill organized. I'm very unorganized person in my personal space. But this is not my scope of my role in Linoop. Okay. So any questions that you may have relevant to that domain, they could be directed towards Shahid Bhai or Asad Bhai or Saim Bhai. But Saim Bhai and I, we both are, we are the Bonnie and Clyde here when it comes to explaining things and sharing as mentors. So inshallah, ask me questions that are technical. Do not ask me, managerial or hierarchical or those questions, please. Thank you. So with that being mine, let me see what Amna Badr has. Yes, Amna, you have a question?
Alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Okay, sir, I want to ask you something about the
Sure.
CD command.
Uh-huh.
CD is for change directory.
Right. Right.
How can we relate this into our laptops or computers? What that actually means? The directory here is the
Folder.
C folder, E folder. What is that? I'm a bit lost about that. Please, can you help me?
Sure. So in Windows, right? We have it here.
Yes, in Windows.
So if you go to so when you do CD, you are going. So when you click on this C, look, you are here in this PC. When you click on it, you are in.
Yes.
You went from this PC to local C folder.
Local is.
Now, when you
Yes.
go from there into say TMP, look. Just give me 1 second. Okay, and when you do look, by the way, it's kind of similar to Linux. The only difference is the slashes are backward.
Okay.
Okay, so C folder. Let me actually do this. Let me go into a folder. Let me call it Sonax, and let me go into this folder. So I'm just going to take this path and put it here in the painting. I paste it here. Oh, sorry. Here. There we go. Oh, yeah. Here. Or I should have actually taken a snapshot. It would have been much easier had I done that. I will copy this. Here you go. So I enlarge it just so that we can. So if this was in Linux,